Hello, believers. Welcome to the Just Praise Him radio show. I'm your host, Glynda Lomax, and today we are going to talk about preparing. Not as in prepping, but preparing. I did not know that this message was going to turn into a podcast until this morning. I actually had a different podcast planned for this next week. But when the Lord told me more about the deadly winter, y'all remember that warning I got, the deadly winter? And I didn't realize until after I wrote it, this is Saturday, September 21st, 2019. I've worked on this the entire day from the time I got up. The entire day I've done nothing else but work on this. And I didn't realize until I finished writing it that it actually correlates with the 10 Virgins podcast that I did last week, that I actually wrote 2 weeks before that. So, clearly God is choosing these messages. Let me tell y'all a story. I don't know the people involved in this story. The story is told of a photographer who is also a skydiver. He jumped from a plane along with several friends, and he filmed the group as each one dove out of the plane and enjoying himself and was absorbed in what he was doing. It wasn't until he reached for the ripcord that he realized one very important detail. He was free-falling without a parachute. He was unprepared for the jump. He was not inexperienced, having done this kind of thing repeatedly for years, but this one time, he forgot to buckle on the parachute. Nothing could save him. It was too late. This parable of Jesus is much the same intent. It speaks about preparedness. It's talking about the 10 virgins, the 5 wise and 5 foolish. From all outward appearances, they looked a lot alike. They were all invited. They would all be appropriately attired in wedding clothes. And verse 5 tells us that they all slept. They had all grown weary waiting for the bridegroom. And as the hour became late, they fell asleep, as anybody would. Verse 7 tells us that when they heard the bridegroom coming, they all woke up and trimmed their lamps. From outward appearances in these 3 verses, you assume that all 10 are pretty much alike. The significant difference between the 10 women is 5 were wise and 5 were foolish. So what sets them apart? Verse 4 says, the wise took oil in jars along with their lamps. So they took extra. They were prepared. They thought ahead because experience had taught them that the bridegroom was often late. So just in case, they took extra oil. The Boy Scouts of America, their motto is to be prepared. A man named Bob was always late for everything. When he died, his widow refused to leave the limo at the church for 15 minutes. He made me late our whole married life. She said, just this once, I want to make him late. I thought that was so cute. The Boy Scouts say, the guy who founded them said that a Boy Scout should never be caught unprepared. I think that's a pretty good motto. I don't know how easy it is to live by, but it's a good motto. Okay. I did a podcast not too long ago, I think about 6 or 8 weeks ago, where I told y'all that the Lord had been giving me something over and over and over again. I'd be walking around my house cleaning or something. I have to clean the house a lot. This is a big house. It's an old house, so it's dusty. I'd be walking around my house, and I just kept hearing deadly winter, deadly winter, deadly winter. Just those 2 words just kept repeating, and I'm like, where did that come? It wasn't anything I heard on television or the radio. It wasn't anything anybody said. It just came out of nowhere. So, I was praying. I was like, Lord, what is that? What do you mean by that? Is that you? It would not stop. I prayed. I couldn't get any more details about it for whatever reason. And after about 3 or so days of it, I decided that I would share it with y'all on an upcoming podcast, since it was obviously some kind of warning. And the minute I shared it, it stopped. So it was a warning. But I have continued to pray and pray about it. It has weighed heavy on my mind. I said, Lord, the sheep need details about this. They can't prepare if they don't know what's coming. And if there's a deadly winter coming, they need to prepare. They need to get ready. We all need to get ready. And I said, is this an icy winter, or is this an earthquake event in winter, or what is it? What are we talking about here? Please give me some words or give me something. And I've been praying this like every day. And I said, we need to start getting ready. And he showed me right away that only about 50% of the people would even act on the warning when they heard it. So about 50% of y'all that hear this are going to act on this warning, and 50% of you are just going to kind of blow it off and go, whatever. I saw very severe consequences for those who don't prepare for what is coming. I saw deaths, I saw near deaths, I saw starvation, and I saw deaths from the cold. About 3 weeks ago, I think it was, I was complaining to the Lord. I am just really honest with the Lord, y'all. He knows what I'm thinking anyway. There's no reason to be any other way. And so I think I was in my kitchen cooking or something. And I was complaining to the Lord that my landlord is a chintzy old man who's probably rich as Roosevelt, and he still won't fix my gas log fireplace. And I live in an all-electric house. Except for that fireplace is gas, but the gas line is all rusted out, so the gas line's bad. The fireplace is, the grate in the burner is completely rusted out, so it's a mess. It's a hot mess. And so I was complaining to the Lord about it. And I'm a good renter. I keep my yard under lawn service, so it's all the time it's kept up. I keep my house clean. I keep my dogs under control. I'm an extremely conscientious tenant because I treat the properties I live in like I would want them to be treated if they were mine and somebody else was renting them. And I pay my rent every month on time or early. And I've been doing this for years. I've lived here over 2 years now. Let's see, I arrived in January, so 2 years and some months, almost 3 years, going on 3 years. And I usually God keeps me in one place for about 4 years. And I know that I'm on my last assignment here because he told me I was. So at least I do know that. As I've told him a lot of times, I miss Texas. Anyway, so I was complaining about the landlord being tight. And, I put money into this house when I moved in. I had about $1,200 in savings, and I spent all of that on expensive tree trimmers because I couldn't find anybody more reasonable, because the trees are over 100 foot tall, and the branches were literally touching the yard. They were that overgrown. No one had trimmed them in so long, because the people who lived here before was this older lady and her daughter, and this man, her husband, the older lady's husband, who was dying of Parkinson's. So she had more important things to worry about than trimming the trees and keeping the lawn up. And I understand that completely, but it was pretty bad when I moved here, and definitely nowhere near up to my standards. So I forked out the money because the realty company wouldn't do it, and emptied out the savings account to get the trees trimmed because it needed it really bad, and the yard was unusable otherwise. And the branches were hanging over the roof, these huge branches, and I looked at those branches and I thought, one ice storm comes along, that roof is toast. And I didn't want to deal with that in the wintertime, and I moved into this house the end of May 2017. I think it was Memorial Day weekend, 2017. So I knew that winter was, 4 or 5 months, it would be fall and moving on into winter, and I didn't want to wait for that because I might not have the money. So anyway, I've spent all that money. I've paid people to come in and do caulking and different stuff like that, and this guy don't want to, fix the fireplace, so that's what I was griping about to the Lord. And so I'm in my kitchen doing something, and I'm staring across the kitchen because it's open to the living room, and that's where the fireplace is that has the gas logs. And I'm griping about that, and I know I shouldn't complain. Y'all, I know I shouldn't. And I've taught on that too, so don't send me any emails griping at me for it, because unless you've been in my shoes, just don't do it, okay? Anyway, he spoke to me, and he said, get the fireplace fixed. And I was like, okay. What are you going to say? I mean, I'm not the person who's going to interrogate God about why he told me to do something. I know better than that. I know which one of us is God, so I don't go there. I usually don't even ask any questions. When he tells me something, I just go, yes, sir, and I go on and do it. So I put in a call to the propane company to come out and give an estimate. They haven't done that yet. They came once, but they've got to come back and look at more stuff. So I'm not really thinking a lot about that. I made the call to the propane company, and everything's on track, to happen and everything. And of course I'm thinking about what it's going to cost, because you think about that, because I don't have any idea what all that's going to cost really. But on August 13th, I'm updating my prayer list. I have a 7 typed pages prayer list that I pray every day. I try to get through all of it every day. I don't always make it. And I update it from time to time because I'll scribble on it. I'll scribble stuff. I'll think of something to add, and I'll add, and pretty soon it's just got scribbles all over it. And so on August 13th, I'm updating my prayer list to make a fresh one because it had scribbles all over it. And I have a section where I ask the Lord to station warring angels around my house to protect it from certain things. And I say warring angels because I'm in spiritual warfare every single day. I'm warring against something every single day. So I think it's okay to ask for warring angels if you're doing warfare. I don't ask for them lightly. Not at all. Because I know I already have guardian angels. So anyway, one of the things that I ask for is that they will keep these 100+ foot trees, I have 20 of them in my yard, from falling on the house and smashing me like a bug. And he added, as I was typing it, he added 3 things to my list. And he said that there would be no broken windows, no bursted pipes, and no property damage. So I'm thinking, okay. But, I just typed it in, kept on going. Alrighty then. So I have been super, super busy the last several months, even busier than usual, and y'all know I stay busy all the time. I have new neighbors, and the Lord is having me train the husband up into ministry. He's been called for a long time, but he's kind of running the other way. And the Lord spoke to them through me, and he realized that, hey, it's time. And he'd been feeling the call real strong. He just wasn't sure how to do it. So, and in spiritual warfare, his name is Henry. Excuse me. They are the nicest people ever. They're so humble and so kind. And Henry has just started his YouTube channel. If you search Henry Morgan, Coffee with Jesus, he has 2 videos out there. Y'all give him a hey. Give him some encouragement if you got time. So, and I just love their 10-year-old son. He clearly has a calling from God. Clearly. And the devil tried to kill him while he was being born. I love the whole family. So I've never had such nice neighbors. So mentoring and teaching someone in person every week on top of, writing sermons, recording the podcast, receiving, typing up, researching, and posting the prophetic words keeps me really busy. Not to mention taking care of a house and 2 dogs. So sometimes things just go, they fly over my head because I'm busy and I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. So I didn't think that much about what he said about, to add to the prayer list for about a month. I just prayed it every day when I did my prayer list. And about 5 or 6 weeks went by before my mind, and this just happened this week, before my mind put those things together. Fix the fireplace and pray against broken windows, bursted pipes, and property damage and deadly winter. And then it went ding, 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 and it was like, oh, she finally got it, And I'm like, wait a minute. And I want to share with you today what I keep seeing about the deadly winter. And I assume that it's this coming winter. He did not say that, but I don't know any reason why he would say deadly winter if he was warning us about next winter, because by then we would have forgotten it, right? So I'm assuming it's this winter. And because the warnings came right before fall, which precedes winter. And as soon as my mind made the connection this week between those 3 things, I started praying and praying hard and saying, okay, Lord, I need some more detail. I need some more detail for me, and I definitely need some more detail for the sheep. Because if this means what I think it means, everybody's got to start getting ready. A lot of what the Bible teaches us is about just walking in wisdom, isn't it? Not living for the moment, but preparing for the future, right? Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer and gathereth her food in the harvest. That's Proverbs 6:6-8. By faith Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith. Hebrews 11:7. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. Proverbs 22:3. So there we have 3 different areas of the Bible which clearly say the prudent prepare, right? Keep in mind, Noah did not wait for it to start raining before he believed God and started building the ark. Because if he had, it would have been too late. God said that is a word for somebody that is listening right now that says, this ain't going to happen and I'm not going to prepare. That is your choice. You don't have to prepare. It is my job to give you the warning that he's given me. It is your job to evaluate the warning, test the spirits, and decide if you think that's worth heeding or not. If you don't, that's on you. God is warning you to protect you and so you won't suffer. If you don't want to accept his warning, that is your privilege. Okay? But he did hear you say that. So, what good does it do for the Lord to warn us if we won't heed it? And I have seen cases, and I'm trying to remember when this was. There was somebody I knew, and God kept warning them about something, and they continually just threw the warning away, just threw it away, and finally he stopped warning. And they asked one day, they said, why didn't he warn you about this? And I said, he was warning you all back then, and you wouldn't listen to him, so he stopped. Because he's not going to waste his time on people that won't listen. So, alrighty then. And let's remember another place where people laughed and mocked at the warning they were given. Lot's sons-in-law in Sodom and Gomorrah, and they were dead in less than a day. Okay, I'm not going to read you all the Sodom and Gomorrah story. I was going to read it to you, but my voice is not holding up so well, so let's pass on that. There was something else I wanted to talk to you about, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Sorry, y'all. It's in the evening. It's already after 5 o'clock, and I have worked on this the entire day, so I'm a little bit weary. You know, when the flood came and it rained for 40 days and 40 nights after Noah built the ark, the water didn't go down for 5.5 months. Oh, I know what it was. Okay, 2 things. One, the reason I did this podcast today is I kept begging him and praying, and he gave me a word. Finally, he gave me a word about that winter, which I'm going to post. When I upload this podcast, I'm going to post this word at the same time. It's called a deadly winter. And for those of you who are not familiar with my website, the prophetic words are posted at www.wingsofprophecy.com or www.justpraisehim.today. They're both valid. Prepare, my children, for an intense winter comes your way, and death rides on its winds. There will be much lack and hunger and need of heat. Your little ones will starve if you do not prepare. Prepare, for darkness comes your way. This is not a winter such as you have seen before. This one brings new dangers. I warn that you may prepare. Many will not heed my warning, and death will claim them. This is a time to walk in much wisdom and prudence, that you may be spared from the jaws of death a little longer. Prepare for lack, for hunger, and for cold. Prepare that you may stay warm in this time. Warn your loved ones, a deadly winter comes your way. Okay, you have heard the warning now. It's up to you what you want to do with that. If you want to heed the warning, which I know many of you have the wisdom to do, pray for guidance and start making your preparations. I thought about it, you know, when I got that word and I thought about it, and because I know what I keep seeing in the Spirit and have been seeing for weeks, but I wasn't at liberty to talk about it until he gave me more detail, and I was, knew for sure it was right. And another thing that happened in the last 3 days is a friend of mine came over, and a person she knows well, a very devoted person, told her that she had heard from the Lord that a deadly winter was coming. I am not even kidding you. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, I'm not the only one hearing this. And then this is definitely him. And what she heard, she can't find the message. She's supposed to share it if she finds it. But what she heard was that there are a bunch of El Niños. And I looked up El Niños because I remember seeing them in weather forecasts, and I don't remember them ever being anything good. And they bring moisture. In the winter, in the dead cold of winter, that is not a good thing, because that means snow and ice, okay, which is what I kept seeing. What I kept seeing in my spirit was ice storms, and ice storms that locked areas down where there was no power. Where I live on a mountain is a very small town, less than 2,000 people, I think. And when you live in a small town and the power goes out over a large area, they're going to fix the larger towns first because there's more people in them, right? There was one power outage here that was a month or longer. One person told me they were here during one that lasted 9 weeks. Please, Lord, have mercy. Another person told me, this friend said she's been through one in the last 10 years that lasted a month. So, and when you're in an elevated area like this is not a very big mountain. It's like 880 feet high or something. It's a real small mountain. But it's still elevated, and the roads are like this when you're coming up here because it's the Magazine Mountains. You go up one mountain and down and then up like that because you're coming into the Ozarks. When the road's ice, trucks can't come up here to deliver groceries. And delivery trucks can't come up here to bring your orders from Amazon either. Okay? And fuel trucks cannot come to fill the gas pumps. So now I want y'all to think about this. When there are ice storms, they can't come up here, but even if there's heavy snow, but even in the flat land, when there's ice storms, those trucks don't run. In Texas, it's as flat as it can be, but when there's an ice storm, lock it down, nothing's going. Nothing is going. And there's branches falling everywhere and stuff's going down. Okay, so what happens when the power goes out is, if you live like me and you're in an all-electric place, you have no heat. You have no light and you have no heat. So you have no way to cook and you have no way to heat your home. Okay? I did find out from my friend that here the water stays on. Thank you, Jesus. The water stays on. So I don't need like a makeshift toilet, thank God. Because I've never even used one of those. I don't even know what that's like. But sorry, y'all, I'm pretty sheltered. But you have to look at the area that you live in. What do you need? If you don't have electricity, what all do you lose? And what do you need? What if it goes on for a month? Here's another thing. The flu has started early this year. All the people in the house next door to me already had it. And we had 2 rounds of upper respiratories before that. So it's going to, I kept having a feeling. I told 2 or 3 people, I said, I just keep having the feeling this is going to be a bad flu season. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think that I'm wrong. If there's a lot of cold, it's going to get around easier because that's what keeps the virus alive. That's my understanding. I'm no scientist or doctor. But it seems like the colder the winters, the worse the flu is, and you're in enclosed spaces, you're huddling for warmth and stuff like that. If you have a power outage, if somebody gets it, everybody's going to get it. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So I thought about it, and I thought, okay, we're probably looking at an extended power outage, possibly, I pray not, I hope not a real long one like what they've seen here before, but possibly. And I thought, so what if I prepare, what's the worst that can happen? I always weigh the pros and cons. The worst that can happen is I spend some extra money and I end up with like some non-perishable food and some candles and stuff that I don't use. The worst thing that can happen if I don't prepare is I could freeze to death on the first night. That's a pretty big difference. So I'm just saying. If you want to prepare, and then I'll close with this. If you want to prepare, you take a word like this and you look at what's coming. This matches what I've seen. What I kept seeing was ice and things shutting down. Like people not being able to travel, not being able to go and get groceries, not being able to get gasoline for their vehicles or their generators. By the way, if you have a generator, those run on gasoline. That's my understanding. I've never run one, so I don't have any idea. But my understanding is they run on gasoline. So if you can't get gasoline for your vehicle, you also cannot get gasoline for a generator. That's something else to think about. So this word, prepare for an intense winter comes your way and death rides on its wind. Okay, so it's dangerous. There will be much lack and hunger. Okay, so food won't be available. That tells you right there food's not going to be available. And I think that's going to be because the roads are going to ice and the trucks aren't going to be able to run. That's what I think. But I'm not that. He didn't say that. That's just what I think. And need of heat. Need of heat means you can't get what you need to heat your house, whatever that is. In my case, it's electricity. And the other thing that made me start thinking about this and why I kept begging him for a word is I said, why would the Lord tell me to spend that kind of money to fix somebody else's fireplace? Because he's not going to do that just so I can smile and go, oh, it looks pretty. He's more practical than that. And he knows I'm very practical. I don't like to waste money on anything. And so I thought, why would he tell me to fix the fireplace? And then it hit me. He's telling me because it's going to be a life and death situation. If it were not a life and death situation, it would be like, because the landlord's not going to fix it. Okay, this is not a winter like you've seen before. This one brings new dangers. Okay, new dangers. I'm not sure which are the new dangers. He didn't say what those were, and I didn't see what those were. So we'll just have to find out as those happen, I guess. I warn that you may prepare. Many will not heed my warning. This is a time to walk in wisdom and prudence and be spared. Prepare for lack, for hunger, and for cold. He told you right there what to prepare for. Prepare that you may stay warm in this time. Prepare for lack, hunger, and cold. The lack makes me think there's going to be some job layoffs or something. That's the only thing I can think of. Or wait a minute. No, wait a minute. There would be lack if the roads are iced and you can't go to work. That may be the lack. Okay. I didn't see that. Okay, so that's what we have. I'm sorry this is not better news, y'all, but praise God for His mercy in warning us, He could just let us sail into winter and that all happen, and then we're just stuck in our houses with no way to keep warm and no way to feed anybody and no way to eat. That would be awful. That would be so awful. But He's such a merciful God. He is such a merciful God. I hope that you will take this seriously. I hope that it helps you. And pray over the winter. Pray over the people you love, because there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to do anything to prepare. Share the message or the word with as many people as you can, because if one person heeds it that wouldn't have heard it otherwise, then it may save their life. It may save somebody else's life that they take care of. But spread the word, y'all, because we got to get the word out about this. This is serious. This is serious. I've seen some ugly winters. I remember back when I was married, huddling to keep warm, and we'd all get in one room, my husband and kids, and we'd all be in one, sheet off all the doorways and try to keep all the heat in one room. And I'm pretty sure that little rent house didn't even have insulation. And we have one little gas heater. And it was not fun. It wasn't. And the water would freeze up. See, well water, it lived out in the country. The well water froze up. Nothing worked. And ice storm, 4 days, you couldn't go anywhere. It was pretty miserable. Thinking about that for a month or longer is just really not very pleasant. But I'd rather think about it now and have some of the things that we need to get through it then than not think about it and just go, oh, that's not going to happen. And then it does happen. And you have nothing. So that's all I have for you. I'm going to post this podcast early because this is such an important subject. And I think the sooner that everyone gets warned, the better chance that they have to prepare for what's coming. So, Jesus bless you. Thanks for listening. Y'all have a great week.